Greetings, shipmates. Welcome to this edition of Voyage of Rediscovery, a commemoration of the fall 1998 journey on Semester at Sea. Before we jump in, or shall I say dive in, a reminder that you can follow our voyage, access other conversations, check out all participant bios, learn about and contribute to the fall 1998 commemorative scholarship, as well as order swag from sas25th.com, and that's SAS25th.com. Dolphins, portside! All right, excuse me. Let's start the show. In today's episode, we speak with Justin Connors. Justin attended Ithaca College and originally hails from South Salem, New York. Justin will tell us about some of the assumptions he made back in 1998 and how his perspectives have since shifted, including where he thought he would have returned to sooner. He'll talk about an encounter with a stranger and what part of his body someone he met wanted to touch. This is a family-friendly show, people. Come on. All right, hop on board. Ship is leaving. But let's go back in time 25 years ago, maybe more than 25 years ago, and tell me, did you have any inspiration for going on Semester at Sea? And tell me about the process that took you toward going.
I feel like I've always been ambitious. I think in high school, I thought I was going to be this multimillionaire business person. I was reading business books like Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I was out of the box, like thinking a bit lofty, but I wanted to do things that were creative. I wanted to do things that were adventurous. I found out through an RA, and then I overheard, I think, a buddy of mine that I went to high school with that did it, that he told me a little bit about it. And he was kind of like an RA that, like, we'd hang out at night in the dorms and he would just go on and on about it. And I was like, no, I have to do this. So it wasn't easy for me to do because I'm in a very targeted program. So for television, radio, it's usually people go to either broadcasting, media of some sort. So you have to get credits. And I was late in the game. Like most people that were on the ship were not seniors in college. I don't think. I was so excited. It was one of those things where I'm like, you don't think about the chance of not going, you think about, I'm going to go. It was something about the adventure of it. I mean, I do like to travel. It wasn't just Semester at Sea traveling the world. I still like it today. Like, we talked a little bit about cell phones and always having that. I like that adventure of not being able to be connected, or there's something about it. That's the adventure. Like you're in the middle of nowhere. We're in the high Atlas Mountains, and I mean, where are we? We were the high Atlas Mountains of Morocco, and then you go down, and we were in the shops. I just knew this would work. I mean, my friends thought I was crazy. We lost each other when we were supposed to meet. I got a piece of paper, and I was like, because I knew they were going to be in this area. I go, if you see these girls, like she had red hair, who's going, and they were amazed. They were like, how did you know that would work? Like, this guy gave me a note. He didn't speak English. We were able to connect and meet, and that worked. That's what we did. I mean, in another country, we could have been totally all over the place in those shops. But yeah, I think that leading up to it, I really think I just want to do something really cool with my life. And I couldn't think of a better out of the box way to do it. But what's cool is everyone's in different places in their lives, at college. Some are a lot more mature. I'm going to med school next. I know what I'm doing. Other people are well, I found this trip. I'm going to take this trip and enjoy it. It's kind of cool because you'd expect people to be more on the same page as what they're going to do with their lives and everything. I really went in kind of just looking for the adventure.
Where do you think you were at that moment in time? You described those that have their future predetermined or have a vision for where they want to go, and then some approach Semester at Sea as, here's what I'm doing now and we'll see. So were you one or the other, or something in between?
Something in between, but to be honest, more towards like, here's what I'm going to do now, and I'm going to do some awesome, like, and while I'm on semester at sea, just not in touch with the reality of, oh, I'm going to travel all the time now. I'm going to be, because it hit me like in retrospect, like 20 years later, I was like, I thought I'd be traveling. I mean, I did travel. I've done a lot of traveling. We went to this really cool island in Vietnam, Nha Trang. I was like, I'll be back here, and I was like, what a friggin' unique place, I was like, how could I not come back here, but I was like, but how can I now, and then there's the other part of, there's so much more of the world to see, but as far as like the adventure part, I really like that. I lucked out when I would go with people in semester C that would have like a plan and be like, we're going to go to Pompeii, or we're going to go here, because I wasn't much of a planner, but I also like times not having a plan, just stepping off and just having no map going. And I was in Kyoto once. I think was that our first country, right? Was it Japan?
It was. And in speaking with many of the people that I've had conversations with, Japan left an indelible mark for a number of reasons. I won't offer them. I'd love to hear from you what your experience was. It was 10, 14 days, whatever it was, that we were on the ship for the first time. And this is the
That's
first place
right.
that you land. So tell me about that for you.
It was hot. I remember being hot, but I did have an experience where I was like, I'm sweating and I'm really like, I'm lost. I asked someone for directions and I was like, do you know where? So it was one of those days where I'm just tired. This is our first country. And the guy did something like held up his hand and like, whatever. My closest memory would probably be something like, so rude, or something like, what the heck? And this is where I learned a lot about America, that I was like, oh, shit, we're in trouble. Like, because we're in our bubble, right? Okay. Within like 2 minutes, I hear a honking and the guy's in his car waving me. And I felt like such a schmuck. He drove me where I wanted to go. And I was like, this is like unbelievable. That was the first part of many experiences in other countries where I just experienced so much kindness, that surprisingly kindness, that they're excited to help. But I just felt so guilty because I was like, I don't experience that kindness in New York. And I also had in Japan, I did a homestay. I just remember they were like, they wanted to take a picture with me. And I look at the picture, this family, I'm staying with this family. I was huge in this, kind of awkward family stay. And they were like, I couldn't understand what they were asking. And then I figured it out. I was like, okay. They were like, they wanted to touch my hair. I could tell they were dying to do this the whole time. They couldn't ask. I guess they got comfortable with me or whatever. I don't know if they've ever seen blonde hair. Like my hair was really blonde or whatever. I was like, yeah, go ahead. They like loved like touching my hair. I was like, oh, that's cool. So Vietnam, amazing. But then we had to go to Nha Trang for some coursework or whatever. And Nha Trang was friggin' beautiful, and a small group of people. We would, hop on the back of a bike and find waterfalls and everything. But we were there for like 3 or 4 days. And, it was one of those things where you're like, you've got only 1 or 2 days in Vietnam, but the trips didn't allow me to kind of have the experience. But you compare notes, like people that I wouldn't be that into going to the Coochie tunnels like that. Did you do the Coochie tunnels, or did you climb in? You did.
I did, but I'm of the size that you could fit through them and it wasn't problematic. So
yeah, that's what I heard. They were really, I mean, that's claustrophobic, but they really were the same size and everything. Man, that's awesome. And everything that happened, like that they warned us about, happened to someone. I think in every country, the taxi drivers would get the best of someone. Like, take them to an alley, either they'd be punched or something, or their camera would be taken. But it was rare.
That's interesting. I haven't heard too much of that in these conversations. So I actually want to dip into this a little bit. The scandalous piece of it, or the dark underbelly of some of these trips. Interestingly for me, and I was fortunate to go to a number of places, had a combination of excursions and self-driven travel. But by and large, I didn't really feel that I got taken for anything where I recognized it, and certainly don't have any memories of a violent confrontation or anything that might resemble crime. So that's interesting. It sounds like you and your crowd are the people that you
Well,
associated with by extension, not necessarily you. I'm not implicating,
yeah,
but it sounds like you had some exposure to some of these types of
yeah.
stories.
Yeah, I heard someone's story. It was like the whole camera got, I mean, he took him right to it was a rickshaw. I don't know if it was a rickshaw. It was a bicycle, not yeah. And I think it was a few others that got it too.
Yeah, I remember a few scams that came up, but nothing quite as dark as uh, outright theft or confrontation in an alley. But
Yeah.
certainly by volume of people that we traveled with, and there were plenty of
Right.
opportunistic people that were there. And certainly when a big ship comes into town, it was
And they
the
know the
talk of
shit.
it.
They knew the shit by then. So I also, as very, very young, growing up, I was into magic and I never could give it up. Like, you get crazy about a hobby. So I was 12, so I went to magic camp. And this is just a hobby I've never, because I'm really into it. And now I look back on that end semester at sea and I look at it and I'm like, I didn't realize, like, I did this because I was just so into what it was. But looking back at it, it's a bougie thing. Like, I look back at this camp and it's like all these kids are rich kids. And I look at semester at sea, it didn't phase me, but it is a rich thing. It's like my cousin went on the semester at sea after ours, directly after ours. And that's when they filmed the actual.
We had the winners of Road Rules on, but they actually then filmed.
But my cousin went on, yeah, the other one, and it was like they were filming it, and she had all these celebrity, like it was like Neil Diamond's son was there, or whatever. Like, it was like a bougie thing. I never looked at it like that. So I looked at it who I gravitated to and who I was friends with. I never looked at it through that lens until I looked back on it. And now you look back on it, and it's really like, I mean, maybe it's changed, but I never looked at it as a wealthy, like, excursion of college students, never saw it that way.
I think it's spot on that you have gratitude, but I do think that we were very privileged for the opportunity, and those that were at the time afforded the opportunity to do it were of the more privileged ranks. And part of that is inescapable. And I think maybe in some ways that is what I personally am grappling with, the fact that I had this transformational experience that I think everyone, regardless of background, should be able to have, in part because I can see the imprint that it has made on all of the people that I've talked to and see what they've
Yeah.
gone on to do with their lives and see how they approach life. And I feel as though if more of us had that opportunity, then I don't necessarily want to say the world would be a better place. Sounds very cliched, but I
Right.
do think that we would have more people that could make the kind of necessary progress that the world so desperately needs right now.
Totally. I mean, that was one of the things where it was like, I mean, we go into these countries too, and I am just as guilty. I still have this backpack.
Yeah, you have a knockoff North Face. I have a
I
knockoff
don't think
North
it's a
Face.
knockoff. It's not a North Face. It's a full backpack. I felt bad. I really haggled down the price. I don't know what country I was in, but damn, did I get a good deal. But I remember you might have seen this or remember this. I mean, all the things, we're disembarking in Florida. It's kind of weird. It's sad, but it's like, I hate that process of like how slow it is. We're on the ship. But there was one moment, you might have seen it and just not remembered it, or you might have been off, but it kind of bothered me a little bit. It was bothering me a little bit about how we're representing our country, because it's like, it goes to your head in a way that you want to keep the party going. So anyway, not to go into it too much, but this is the scene. Like, so we're all getting off the ship, and this one girl, where everyone's kind of watching her from the balcony, and she's got her hat from, the rice hat from China, every classic thing that every country kind of had, right? And I got my like, I want to say MP3 player from Hong Kong. You know, it was like the whole thing. Like you got to get the. So anyway, it was a big, I want to say cat or whatever it was. It was made of clay or right. Okay, so she's walking off the ship, and everyone's watching her. You know, like, and you could hear everyone kind of subtly just like, oh, whoa, whoa, you should, you know, she's gonna drop it. She's got all this shit. So she drops it. And you hear everybody from all the balconies go, oh man. And she bends down and she picks it up. She turns and faces the ship. And I mean, it was funny, but it's also, you really got to think about this. She looks at everyone and she tried to save this thing. It's broken. She looks up and she goes, $1. And everyone's goes, yeah. Like, what, you know, it was like, it was $1. Like, you know, it was the right attitude to have. Hey, something breaks, it breaks. But it's the epitome of like, okay, that's kind of how we got to go through these countries. I just don't think we, including myself, were ever really in touch with the actual reality because we were on our trip. I hate to say the American, you know, you can mirror back to the American culture is like just too much of a consumer society of like, what can I get? What can I get? You know, and you're on that high of shopping,
like that rampant,
but I was
rampant imperialism still
yeah,
existing, and at the same time, the pace of everything didn't provide an opportunity for people to slow down and take note and realize. And then at the same time, in part because our culture, in part because of the age, and in part because of just who we are, perhaps in the world, we're not able to see how we appear. It's really just, this is our experience, and you are
exactly.
entering my experience, when really we are the outsiders that are entering everything else and not doing it
Exactly.
with the sensitivity that we hopefully
We
would
don't even know
display.
that it would matter. I'm just so happy that it's survived all the, you know, all the things that have happened in the world. It's important. And I mean, what a gift. I could not explain it to people how wonderful it was to be like, you know, retard your clocks 1 hour. I was like, oh my God, yes, I can sleep in and I'm good, you know. But the crazy things that people were able to do, like somehow someone finagled the closed circuit TV to get into their room so they could watch that's unheard
I
of.
forgot all about that. That's right. People would watch the class from their room. I remember. Yes.
I mean, that's skills. Like who would think to do that and then do it? Like, I mean,
Yeah.
but like
That
we had
person is now
so
working for WikiLeaks. So
really
no,
not
I'm
that
just I don't
oh oh
no.
uh,
I just, got to insert some humor
right,
here
right. No, but
there.
like it also exposed the shit. It was like, you know, I don't know how they even caught them, but it exposed like someone could do that. And then they were really, you know, and then like it was so uplifting, like the fact that they'd fly someone from the other country to be with us. We got some cool people, like that guy from Israel was awesome. He played the guitar, and we had like the like Miss India at the time, and just there to just tell, you know, I don't know. I mean, they really did their homework to get the person, you know, and then teach us about it.
So Justin, you said some really, really fascinating things, and something, deep that resonated with me about your path, about how much of it had been decided or undecided before, and how you moved forward in life and approached risk, some being calculated, some people being maybe more bold than you found yourself. But I'd just love to ask you, what have you taken from that experience, if anything? But I know that you have taken something that you think you apply to the life you're living now.
I mean, I can't say one thing. It's really amazing. I mean, just the curiosity and the understanding of people from other backgrounds, whether they were more so if they were born from there or not. I have so many references of pictures from being on the Great Wall of China, learning about it. It was a rich experience. So I feel like when people are from other countries, I want to know more about it. I can go on and on, but it's also like being in New York. Like I was like, man, I would love to do for tourists what they've done, and I've enjoyed that. Like if you see a tourist, it's like, what are you looking for? Let me help you find it or whatever.
And they come up to you and they're like rude, and then you get in your car and you
Yeah.
take them where they want to
Right.
go.
I pull out my car from 42nd Street, and I'm like, yeah, I'll take you to or like outside of Broadway. You want to go to Hell's Kitchen or wherever you want to go. It's kind of like a great. I love sharing with people that I did for because I feel like it sparks up a conversation of like, oh, where did you go? They always said it was a bug, like you have the travel bug. Did you travel a lot after semester C? Were you able to do that, or did you have any interest in?
For a time, yeah, I always had the interest. And interestingly, I suppose part of the drive for this project is something similar to, I think, what you're describing yourself, in that it's about entering midlife and perhaps pivoting, perhaps reconsidering some of the decisions you made and trying to apply those lessons from the moments where you learn the most. And that 100 days is probably when I learned more than I can ever remember in such a concentrated period of time.
Yes. So we docked in Casablanca. We told this family we're going to go to Marrakesh. They go, we have a house there. This is another thing. Like we show up, there's, I think, Mercedes waiting to pick us up. We ate. They had people, those like spinning like thing, huge meal at like their brother-in-law's house, keys to their empty house. And I remember them saying, no, they don't have money. They're in school, whatever. We're like, that is so kind. We stayed at this house, their weekend house or whatever, for whatever 2 days, and explored there. And then we had a drive. I mean, it was like, what is going on? I mean, you can't make that stuff up. Yeah. But the kindness of people just to open up their house to total strangers. I love that part, that we did it that way. Like that'll never happen again in that sort of way. So yeah, there's something really special about that, way to see the world. Because you gotta separate yourself if you're on an adventure, and you don't if you just go right to your phone and then there's Facebook and then there's everything else. You're back connected. It's a really good way to disconnect. So anyway, yeah, this was fun. This was cool.
Thank you. Thanks for checking out this edition of Voyage of Rediscovery, and don't forget to also check out sas25th.com. That's SAS25th.com for everything fall 1998. We'll see you next time, and remember, if you're not back by 8 p.m., the ship will leave without you.